Hello BattleTech fans, this is Travis back with Renegade HPG to share with you some of the new miniatures by Catalyst Game Labs, as well as give you a detailed comparison between previous iterations of each of these sculpts, either through FASA, Ral Partha, Iron One Metals, or any other similar companies producing these particular model of miniatures. But without any delay, let's go ahead and dive in. In these packs, in addition to the 4 miniatures, we also have 4 Alpha Strike and 4 pilot cards. So it's going to be 8 cards total. We'll go through those and I'll give you a little bit of close-ups after we go over the sculpts, so that you can kind of pause the video and read what is on each of those. But for now, let's go ahead and dive in, and we are going to be tackling the Timberwolf first. And let's go ahead and start with a close-up from each side. You can see the remarkable detail that has been included on these sculpts. So the main difference between this Timberwolf and the standard one found in the Clan Invasion base set is going to be those jump jets on the back, because Aidan's Timberwolf was customized for the Battle of Tukiyid. Slightly different torso twist on that as well, but the jump jets are going to be the main difference. Little top view there. And let's go ahead and compare that to the last release. And so here is the Timberwolf Mad Cat from the introductory box. That's the 3500B, I believe, from Catalyst Game Labs about maybe 10 years or so ago. So you can kind of see the new one is a little bit thicker, a little bit bulkier. And then I also have one of the STL prints for those that like to print these at home. I think I got this particular miniature from Etsy a while back, though those are harder to find now that Topps is kind of enforcing that copyright a little bit more, which is understandable if you're going to invest this much into making your own sculpts. But you can kind of see how that compares. So the new one's just a little bit taller, a little bit less fat. Now if we go all the way back to the beginning, we can kind of check out the original Ral Partha sculpt. Much smaller than the new one. So all of these new sculpts have been better representation, or internally scaled from mech to mech. And so I believe it's 1/280 or 2/65 is the new scale. Roughly 1/286 was the previous scale, so a touch bigger, but all consistent relative to each other. All right, so if you put a 20-ton mech up against a 65-ton mech, you will see the difference. All right, and so here we have the first edition plastic from, I believe this was from the second edition City Tech, way back in the day. And there we have all the comparisons for the Timberwolf and Mad Cat in its various iterations. Let's go ahead and move on to the Direwolf next. Here we have the Widowmaker sculpt. So we got the 2 barrels on the arms, a little bit different weapons configuration for Natasha's Black Widow, or Direwolf, aka the Widowmaker. Great detail there. It's going to be much easier to paint these in my own painting journey earlier in this year, as I kind of started to learn and kind of develop some of my own basics. I very quickly gravitated to the miniatures from the Game of Armor Combat and the introductory box from last year, because they were just so much easier to paint than the metal ones. But we can compare that to the original plastic. This is again from that City Tech box. So we can see new ones a little bit bigger, represent that 100-ton of raw power. Kind of see it from the side there. And then I do also have kind of a STL printout, which you can buy online, or you could have before that lockdown. It's understandable. Protect your copyright, your trademark. Unfortunate that all the terrain got caught up in that as well, but I'm sure it'll come back. The internet's pretty savvy. But yeah, new ones got more mass, more bulk, a little bit better representation of 100 tons of pain and death. And then I will add one more comparison on the direwolf here, though granted my original Ral Partha direwolf is not assembled. And I'm not quite ready to assemble that just for this video, but you can see a huge difference there in size. So that original sculpt's much, much smaller. Maybe we can lay these out there for you guys and just kind of see some of that overlay comparison, you know, between the various parts. So the new one's significantly larger than the original Ral Partha sculpt. Though I do love the detail on the metals. As far as the metals go for the originals, that is a good quality one. So next up we got Carlyle's Marauder. Check that out. A lot of great panels. When I'm painting these, I refer a lot to the Unit Color Compendium website. If you guys haven't found that, it really is a ton of fun to explore. It's a deep, deep rabbit hole, but you can get really beautiful paint schemes for pretty much every known unit in the inner sphere is on there. For some reason, I don't think it is considered canon. But I would guess it's probably 95% or so accurate to canon. There's very few deviations. But I use that. It's a great guide for deciding paint schemes. For me, as a relatively new painter with you know, little to no advanced skill, actually I wouldn't even say little, I would say no advanced skills. And real quick, here is the first plastic Marauder from the 3rd edition set of BattleTech. You can see the scale difference there. A little bit taller with the new sculpt. But yeah, I was saying it as a newer painter, I try to find the paint schemes with the least amount of kind of fading and color combos there. And this is one of those Maycross pencil sharpeners. You can usually find these on eBay, maybe for about 25-30 bucks if you're lucky. Maybe a little cheaper if you can, but I like them because they're rubber. You can kind of put them in hot water, kind of adjust the positioning. I usually cut them off the sharpener themselves, put them on a base, but it's always nice to get a sharp looking miniature that you don't have to paint. Though you can actually prime and paint these, I have done it. But those are the main comparisons for the Marauder. I do also have a Marauder in blister from the original Ral Partha. I do not want to take that out. For anybody that knows the value of this, you probably understand why, but you can kind of see a little bit of comparison. You know, so that original metal is just a touch smaller. As I understand it, those original metals were used as the basis for the sculpts for the plastics. So I think the original metals were pretty much the same as those BattleTech 3rd edition plastics. But that was the Marauder. So let's pull up the last of the batch, and this is going to be Morgan Kell's Archer. So very little difference here between the Archer that came in the main pack. I think it was maybe the Command Lance. Might have been the Battle Lance. I'm not sure off the top of my head. But just a little bit of different torso position, leg position maybe to kind of distinguish this between that other Archer. I will go ahead and grab the original, the other plastics for these real quick, and I'll do a quick comparison between the different sculpts at the end here for you. But that is Morgan Kell's Archer, and we can compare that to that BattleTech 3rd edition plastic. So the first version of plastic for BattleTech, quite a little bit of difference. This guy's about to launch those LRMs, standing in his pose. And then we have the original Ral Partha sculpt. Same pose, similar size, similar height. He looks like even a little bit taller. Interesting. Definitely less dynamic. And then I actually have a lot of other Archer sculpts. And so this is from the new Kids Logic line. This is actually my favorite Archer. I love that classic look. And these Kids Logic sculpts are very high quality. They are resin though, so they're extremely brittle. I could very easily let go of the Catalyst Archer here and drop it with no issues. If I did that with the resin, it would snap those antennas right off. So you got to be a lot more careful, but very good. Also very easy to magnetize those arms. So definitely check that out. A bit more expensive than the plastic ones, though the plastic ones you do have to buy in a group. And then finally, these were the Robotech Tactics sets that had a Kickstarter several years back. So this little plastic miniature. And these are actually cool because you can customize the pose. And so this miniature is probably about, I would say maybe about 15 different parts all glued together. It is definitely a challenge to assemble, but you do have the flexibility to kind of pose it however you want. This guy is launching. And then my favorite, which I've done of those, is this guy here. We got a nice, good running action shot with him. I think my posing there is superior than the new guy. No offense, new guys, but I am partial to that original design of the Archer. But yep, this guy's hauling butt, getting down the battlefield. One thing I wish they would have done with these new plastics is between the legendary version and the regular one of just have one with the missile shut. It would have been nice to have one of each. A little variety, but these, I think they look a little bit too similar between this and the standard Archer. But let's go ahead and grab those now. I'll give you a real quick comparison between the legendary and the non-legendary versions. All right, so first up, comparing their non-legendary counterparts. We have the direwolf there. You can see kind of the difference in the weapons. You know, we got the autocannon next to the cockpit. You know, different loadouts on each arm. A little bit different torso twist. This one's a little bit more straight out. And then the missile pod up top. It's going to be a little bit different between Widowmaker and the Prime. See the back. Not too much different there on the back. And then we have the Archers. And so we have, this is Kell's Archer here. This is the standard one. Kell's got a little bit of that crouching stance. This one's standing a little taller. And kind of decide which ones you prefer. Again, I wish they would have closed the missile bays on one of these. Or even more different, like do one closed missile bay, one open missile bay. That would have been something. You're not firing those both LRM-20s every turn. And then we have the standard versus the hero for the Marauder. A little bit of bend in that autocannon that's easily fixed with some hot water. If you guys don't know, you know, picking up plastic mechs for the first time, it's just a little hot water. You can very easily kind of get the plastic back into the shape that you want. Not a ton of difference. The Legendary actually has a bit more detail. If you can kind of see on the autocannon, a little bit more bulk in there. Arms a little bit different position. A little bit more torso twist in the Legendary. I think they did that for most of the Legendary, just added more torso twist. But yeah, that two comparison. And then finally we have the two Timberwolves. And so on this side here, this is your Aidan's Prydes. So again, the main difference on this one was the back with the jump jets. So you can see the jump jets on the Aidan Pryde, the legendary version. And the other one does not have that. So Aidan's is a little bit more lower in its stance. But otherwise, very similar between these two battle mechs. I think the difference between Aidan's was the additional jump jets and the elimination of the, I think the machine guns and maybe the small laser, if I recall correctly. But there you have it. So those are the mechs. I'll go ahead and pull out the cards real quick for you, and I'll just kind of put them up briefly on the screen. If you want to read them, you can go ahead and pause the video to do so, but I don't want to burn up a ton of video time. We have the man himself. We have Grayson Carlyle, oddly spelled wrong. And they can't even claim that they just decided that this was a spelling because it is spelled different there than it is right there. But if those are the only issues that we have with the run of the Kickstarter, then we are in a good place. Typos are the least of our concern. We have Morgan Kell. And the other side. Still retain that Phantom Mech ability. Got Natasha. Yeah, put emphasis on that lucky. I don't know how you survive 70 years on a battle mech. I guess nobody's rolling 12s. It's Natasha. I don't care how good you are, you can't survive a Gauss rifle to the head. We got Aidan. And then we have the Alpha Strike cards, if you play the Alpha Strike version. Now in the standard Lance packs, they generally have a 30-25 and a 30-50 version on this, front and back. But since these are the hero mechs, you know, there's only one version of each. And then they have the pilot stats on the back. The Widowmaker. And Aidan's. But that's it for the Legendary MechWarriors Force Pack by Catalyst Game Labs. If this was helpful, definitely kind of give the video a little like, share with other people who might be waiting for their Force Packs or excited to see what is coming up, or even just kind of decide if it is worth the investment. I definitely think it is, and I look forward to seeing these on the tabletop. But if you're catching this video soon after it was published, you can still hop onto that Clan Invasion Kickstarter as a late backer and get these mechs in Wave 2, or you can get them at your local retailer or even online. If you are online, I do recommend Ares Games and Miniatures. They have really good prices there and the shipping is very quick. But otherwise, thanks for listening. Definitely check out the other videos on the channel. A lot of great interviews, including my most recent one with Mike Stackpole. And the podcast itself should be available on iTunes within a few days of when this particular video publishes. But that's it for Renegade HPG. Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you on the next video.